Okay, about a month ago, my new Holland baler broke down when I was attempting to bale, and I ended up busting up my tine bar here. Well, that's what New Holland calls it, the gathering teeth, whatever. So as you can see here, totally bust up the rear end, which is where the rear teeth sit, and then you also have your bearings that ride in the guide. And speaking of guide, there's basically a 1/2 inch pipe in there, and it ended up tweaking this out of line. I think this is relatively in line with the camera, but this here should be straight, not curved like it is. So this part I'm gonna need to heat and beat, and I think I've got a replacement part for this finally. And I guess I'm gonna try to reason with people why it's not as simple as cut this tube off and rebuild it. Warning, highly compressed spring inside bar. I don't feel like dying. And when I called my local New Holland dealer, they said, we don't have this, but we have the parts to make it, and it was a crazy price. And it also, when everything failed, it also bent the crap out of the teeth. I replaced these teeth. They're not too hard to replace. And I think, it was a similar reason. And I can't remember if I went over this, but I'm gonna say it again. I was baling a bale. I had not, because these do not like to rebale a broken bale unless you're throwing in finite amounts of the bale. But if you put in a big wad of it, compressed wad, it blows everything up. And the end piece here is aluminum. Yes, it is possible to weld aluminum. However, I don't have the tooling for it, nor the experience and knowledge. And to get that far would cost more than this part cost me. So let's open a new part. Okay, here we get going again. Spent about 2 weeks looking for this part, because they haven't. The last of these New Holland 276s rolled out in '76. I just went and looked it up. So I mean, this is a 50-year-old baler, and I mean it's been relatively decent to me. I just have not been decent to it by overrunning. Well, I should say overrunning, but over-ramming it with hay. It's well packed. Now this looks much better. Oh. There we go. And the gentleman I bought this from, he sent me the chain as well for it. So it's got a chain. I just gotta slide the front packers on. Well, actually these just pulled on. And they're actually straight up and down because the ones I did have, I beat the crap out of because I abused my baler. I admit it. I did this to myself, and I only blame myself. Something I'm gonna do, since it's getting laid out and it gives this thing time to cool, I'm gonna heat it with my torch. I know this is a cutting edge. I don't have a rosebud, but this works. But pretty much we're gonna heat and beat, or attempt to heat and beat this straight. If I can get this bent back over this way and then take a crescent or something and bend this back. It's pretty much the plan. I'm gonna get my machine hammer and I'm gonna start. Okay, so this has been beaten and beaten. Oh, and it looks like it's on a more level, I shouldn't say level, but straighter path. Obviously, really the only way to find out is to put this back in the machine and see if it sits happily. But obviously, I just put a flame to it, and flame plus grass doesn't usually tend to end well. So I'm gonna let this sit overnight, cool down, and I'll pick this up tomorrow. Okay. Something I need to do before I get going too far is I need to remove the old chain, since I'm gonna keep it around, but since the other one came with a chain, it'd probably just be easier to put that on, and along with the fact that I broke one of the links here. Well, I guess not a link, but the pin. So to change this out, I gotta go here on the front side. And simply put, I gotta take this, run it all the way over. I believe they're 9/16 sockets, not sockets, but nuts on this. Yes. I think that should let up enough tension that I can take okay, and here on the back side, hate to cut you guys out, but there's a hole here where you can shove the pin through. If you get the right size pusher, you can take the chain. I'm going to move the camera here. Do. Gotta find. Okay, this pin here. Problem is that I'm trying to line this up. There we go. All right, let's chains out. Oops. Out, pull the pin. There we go. Okay, old chain out. Yep, that spins pretty freely, so I know that bearing's good. While I got that chain out, I'm going to take the guide tube here that I beat straight. Just make sure that it is beaten straight. Man, I'm being the second person for this. Okay. Dang it. Okay, but that old chain's out. Okay. Guide bar's back in. It is relatively straight in the center. To put the tube in on the left side here. You have the two bolts, 3/8 by 3/4 inch. I know this one's a little weird. I'm probably gonna go get a flat washer to hold this part down, and then you have this cross bolt here that holds this at a 90. So you have a relatively straight bar. And then of course, this here pipe just slides on up here. And then you have the two bolts, and these are just 5/16 bolts that hold it on here, hold this guide bar straight. And now it is time to put in the new Tine bar, which in itself can be kind of a pain. Yeah, because this here is supposed to be wrapped around this way. Okay, hold on. I had that in wrong. Good thing I find out now before I blow up another part. take a punch here, put it together, line it up with that hole up front there. Or at least attempt. Ah, there we go. Now it's in. But the pin's in. Now if I can find my half moon. The half moon clip. Poke and slide that on. And then take the tine bar. There we go. So you just need a little tap. Take that's a flat washer, castle nut, which is, then you have a 3/4 inch wrench. Now before I tighten this down, I'm gonna go get some torque specs real fast. Okay. I couldn't find an official torque spec for this bolt in particular, but knowing castle nuts, you wanna go, and especially since this is right on a bearing, I don't wanna wear out my bearing, you want to take these castle nuts down to where it's snug, and then enough that you get on the you want to tighten in just enough that you can put the pin through it, and obviously make sure that it doesn't bind when you as it's rotating. And then the chain is supposed to be tightened up to where it can deflect 5/8 of an inch with 100 pounds of force. Now, how you exactly measure that beats me. There's probably an actual way to do it, and I could get yelled at for doing it an incorrect way. Okay. I know you guys can't really see what I'm doing here, but if I can get actually, I need to go back just a little. Okay. I don't think I can get I'm like halfway through. Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. If I could just right there should be perfect. Let me get a cotter pin for that. Like I said, you want it tight, but you don't want it too tight that the bearing will bind Well, I used to have, years ago, a whole pack of cotter pins. Where'd they go? Oh, here they are. Wrong drawer. Gotta find the cotter pin I need. This one should work. Do. Well, it's in theory locked. Up front in here is how I adjust the tension on that chain. Now, like I said, I need to go, it's going to be kind of a back and forth ordeal. Deflect 5/8 of an inch per 100 pounds up top. I think. I'm going to actually go double check where the 5/8 is, because it says 5/8, 100 and 100 pounds. So I'll be right back. And the answer is rather vague. It says right in the book, 5/8 of an inch with 100 pounds of force. Well, I'm going to tighten this up so that the tine bar is at least suspended and not dragging on that since I'm not at least dragging on that skid. I don't exactly have a scale with me here. But it's not skidding on this mark. So I'm gonna go roughly a quarter turn more on the set screw up front. I need to get my open box. I think my 9/16 open box. Bring you guys back around up here. Set this screw. So that screw's set. Then I need to tighten down those two bolts. I guess nuts, sorry. Okay, that's on. And now to put on the actual gathering tines in the back here. Okay. The book says that you should set the tines roughly 4 inches back from the pit, from the center of the bolt. And I mean, you can kind of see where 4 inches is. However, I would like to verify where the 4 inches are. And I believe they want the start of the bracket at 4 inches. However, that can be adjusted based on your how your hay feeds. Sometimes you may need to pull the fingers a little further back or advance them a little bit. If I can find my tape measure real fast. Here it is. Oop, excuse me. 4 inches. Okay, hold on. I think it's, yeah, okay. 4 inches, I'm sorry, from on the tube. So roughly, I mean, you can see the wear mark, but check and check again, I guess. Now this here's rather simple, because these just straddle. Well, in theory, this is simple. Piece. Just a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Nope. No. Maybe. Nope. There we go. So roughly, I wouldn't mind pulling them back a little bit just to save my. I mean, obviously, these should be are adjustable. Yep. But they just slide on and bolt in with the carriage bolt. Here's one. And there's this here's bolt number, well, nut, sorry. Nut number 2. I don't know why I go back and forth. I call a bolt a nut and a nut a bolt. Don't know why. I do apologize for those who are very particular on the verbiage. And that's a 9/16. Go figure. Went and put that away. Want those to stay. I don't want them really sliding around, but I may have damned myself by putting that on, oiling this. Okay, so in theory, I can't get the leverage from this angle. If I turn this gear, get the main drive chain that I blew up. That should be moving without much resistance. However, now that the tine bar is not should be, yeah, halfway around. Oh yeah, that's way too tight. Because I should be able to move that a little more than I am able to, so let's fix that. Because otherwise I'm gonna break that chain. This is why you check things before you slam them into gear. Okay, and in theory by doing that, oh, kitty cats. Sorry, I got farm, yeah, hi-lo. And the farm cats have decided to join me now that I'm out here in the shed, so there may be some random shenanigans. Okay. Let me try and pull this chain again. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, that's a heck of a lot easier. Okay. Okay, I need you to be right there because now it's time to retime the tine bar and the plunger. Okay, so I've gone, here's the main drive chain. I busted it when everything had that cataclysmic failure. So I've got a repair link. I'm hoping it's the right repair link. There's supposed to be 68 links, which I've counted. 2 are what they call offset links, so I don't know if that's supposed to be half links or what. I guess we'll run it and see if it blows up again. I know that's not the best way to run machinery, but I'm not exactly getting much help from the parts book online on what needs to be what. Now, something I will note, when timing your chain, you want the tine bar to be just before bottom dead center on the second gear, or the, I guess, right gear if you're facing forward. And then you want your plunger here to be roughly top dead center. So in theory, because okay. With that chain on, you gotta tighten it up. There. So now, in theory, if I put you want your plunger to be top dead center and your tine bar Now I gotta adjust the knotters here, but the tine bar should be just around, no, that's like one link too far back. I'm gonna actually go check the book. I think you want it to be, I think you want the bar to be, I'm not sure if you want to be bottom dead center on that, or I think you want to be just before. I'm gonna go look in the book. Okay, so here you can barely see them, but you can see these scratch marks. You want the plunger in between these scratch marks, back here, and then back here on. You want the center of that, of your tine bar in between the two scratches here, which it is. So in theory, the baler is timed, and I also took the liberty to check, well, not to check, but to tighten this chain back up. So in theory, the baler should be repaired. However, I'm gonna hook it up in the morning. And, well, hello, kitty. And bale what's left of the hay when the cat's not in it. Hello.